vinyl community. Or not. Maybe you're just here because of the title of this video and you have one of these relatively inexpensive all-in-one turntables that, you know, have speakers and an amplifier and a phono preamp attached to them. I'm here to answer a question, whether it's worth your while to upgrade your stylus or even change out your cartridge. But before I get into it, I want to say, don't subscribe. I don't make enough content to make it worth your while. There's better channels out there that do this a lot more effectively than me. So please don't subscribe. I already have enough. Anyway, what is my bottom line up front? For those that just want to stick on around for a minute and get to the answer, I'm going to tell you, it's not worth your time. Don't change out your cartridge. Don't even change out your styli. But if you're wanting to hear more and you want to actually hear some of the proof, stick around. I'm going to give you some samples. But I want to tell you about my experience because I'm a tweaker by nature. I like to see if I can effectively change the sound of things. And so this Stackstone turntable was given to me for review, and I wanted to see if I could improve the sound. So I went out and I purchased myself an LP Gear stylus replacement. I ran it through its paces with the stock AT3600L cartridge, which you see on a lot of these turntables, even the budget friendly that are not all in one but are standalone. A lot of them come out with the AT3600L cartridge. Also, I think Riga can be really cheap, I will tell you that much. And on their RP1 or P1, they put on a Riga Carbon Debut, which is nothing more than an AT3600L. But, so I had fun with this, and I thought, what would happen if I put on a different cartridge? This is my Nagaoka MP110. And lo and behold, I didn't think about it from an engineering sense, but the tone arm on the Stackstone is designed specifically for the AT3600. If you have a cartridge that even is slightly heavier, it will not work. The counterweight is designed for the AT3600, and it did not work with my Nagaoka. I even went out and I'm thinking, what if I replaced it with one of these VM95E, which is another popular cartridge that you see from Audio-Technica? Thinking, hey, maybe I'll just swap it out with this. So the threads on this guy are of a thicker diameter, and I couldn't even install it on there without having to drill the head shell out, which I do not want to do on this turntable. I'm sorry. I don't even know why they included a cartridge alignment guide, because outside of the AT3600, you're not going to be able to get a different cartridge on this tone arm on this turntable. So don't even mess with it. And here's my first lesson learned. With the Stackstone, I screwed up the wiring. And I fought tooth and nail to get that fixed, put my AT3600 back on, and I had a grounding loop, which I could not fix. I spent hours. I redid the pins and everything several times. I had shrink tape put on. I could not eliminate the ground hum. So I also procured, I do want to say I procured this ATN 3600 LE, which unfortunately, because I screwed up the tone arm, I couldn't even demo it. I couldn't even test it out. But let's talk more about the differences in the styli. I'm going to give you a bit of a primer on different stylus shapes. And as you can see from this photo, there's a multitude out there. But the focus of today's video is only on two, the ones that I have circled, which is the conical and also the elliptical. If you go online,
you'll find a multitude of resources where you can do a deeper dive into Styli, but the reason why I'm showing you this particular picture is to show the importance of the geometry. The geometry of the Styli will affect the overall surface contact with the record groove. The principle being, the more surface contact you have, the better your Styli is going to be able to track the LP surface. Now, the two Styli in question today are what we call bonded, which is a bonded diamond to a metal shank, which is cut and polished to a certain shape. Now, keep in mind, only about 10% of that surface actually gets inside the groove of the record. I thought it'd be fun to show you quickly some of the other Styli that I have in my collection. So here is an elliptical, which is the VM95E, which I couldn't even get in or installed on the turntable in question today. Here you can see its elliptical shape. Next up, I have an Ortophone 2M Black, and this is a Shibata stylus. Notice the pronounced cross-like shape. And lastly, here is a Dynavector XX2. This is a fine contact stylus. You can see it has a very pronounced geometry like the Ortophone. Let's talk about the three Styli in question. So we have the stock AT3600L, which is a conical stylus. When I put it under the microscope, you can see a definitive conical form. Now, when I compare it to the LP gear, you can see that we have a nice elliptical shape. And then when I bring in the ATN 3600LE, you also see a nice elliptical shape or cut. Now, that is the only difference amongst these three replacement Styli. The inner workings are exactly the same, and it's basically plug and play in terms of replacement.
So thanks for sitting through my quick rundown of the Styli. Now I want to give you the sound comparison between the LP gear and the stock AT3600. Can you hear a difference? maybe you could hear something. You know, I looked at it under Audacity, and there might be some marginal differences. You might have been able to hear something marginal, but it's not night and day. The phono amp inside these all-in-ones are probably not the greatest. Moreover, you're going to be better off if you can't change out your cartridge, just sticking with an AT3600L replacement. Save yourself $20, but if you have another tone arm on one of these turntables, or you could change the cartridge out, I would go with the Audio-Technica VM95E. I've heard it's a much better cart. Now I could install it on my main turntable. I don't want to do that quite yet, because to do it on a turntable is an investment in time, which time is not a luxury I have nowadays. But anyway, I hope this was useful for most of you with these budget turntables, or even if you have the stock AT3600 and you think that you're going to get better sound. It's going to be in the margins, in my opinion. You may not even be able to hear a difference. And so hopefully you had headphones on so you could hear it, because if you're listening through an iPhone, you might not have been able to make a whole lot of difference. But anyway, I do thank you for watching, and stick around. Who knows? I might have another video out in a few months.